lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and back with me again is the one and only Sara Frazetta. I'm super stoked to have you back on the show. It's been, I think, at least a year since we talked, so there's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
Yeah. Time does go by quicker when you get older. It's just like it's a true thing.
It is
I'm
a
like,
true thing.
wow, 33. Oh my god.
Yeah, I just turned 35 last week. So yeah, it's pretty crazy how much time has flown, especially because of the pandemic. I feel like the last 2 years have been a fucking blur.
Yeah. And I didn't sign 2022 until like last week. Hating everything. I'm like, oh, maybe February I'll start. A couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, February will be my new year in my head.
But anyways, so many things have happened recently, even, over just since we've talked. The museum opened up.
Yeah.
Made an announcement about some comics. Before we get into comics, though, how have you been over the past year? Like all these different things, all these plates you're spinning. Busy, one of the busiest women I know. So.
Yeah. So the Q4 was a blur because I had tons of death dealer ornaments to ship out, so that was fun. I think we're going to be going into some sort of distribution soon because it's getting a little bit. We're at that point now where we're like, okay, now we've got a lot of orders, so that's exciting. But yeah, the museum was a big task, and I helped my mom, Holly Frazetta. So I work Frazetta Girls. We're helping curate the museum, and just. It's really exciting that it's finally open. We tried to open it in 2020 and we were open for a week. And I think like 3 people got to visit and I was like, you guys are real lucky. But we had the opening on February 4th and had a little gathering. And then we've just been having appointment only so people can come see it. It was opened originally in 1995 by my grandparents, and they had it open for a year. Then my grandfather had his massive stroke in 96. They ended up moving back to Pennsylvania, and then they opened the museum on their property in 2001. But it's been closed ever since. And just to see it reopen and have those originals back in, it's been everyone that's been coming has just had such an amazing response to it. I mean, they just said, and Ryan, you need to come too, because it's like they fans have just been describing it as like this like outer body experience, and being able to see the originals. It's just you can't compare it. You can't compare it online. You don't see like the 3-dimensional effect that he did until you actually see one in person, which is really cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to make the trip out there. I just gotta, make sure I can light up the finances and stuff, because, two people taking. I don't mind taking my kid out of school, but the taking my wife out of work and stuff, that can be kind of difficult.
In California, that flight in general is just kind of hell. Right?
I can do. Yeah, I'm in California. I can deal with the flight. I mean, I'm itching to get out there. I've seen the pictures. I mean, I think Frank Cho posted that picture with you. I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Frank came down the day that we were releasing the comics, announcing the comics, and he had no idea. And I said, this is like very serendipitous, Frank. And he was laughing and he goes, it really is. So we got to take the picture in front of a death dealer. So that was really cool.
So let's talk a little bit about how and why you decided to reopen the museum. What goes into curating? What goes into curating a museum? I mean, like, that's another thing you can add to your resume now. Museum curator.
Maybe after a few seasons, I'll add that. I do. But really just like taking everyone that comes and visits for a tour, telling them about the history of the paintings, about my grandfather's life, about the history of the building. And then of course, setting up obviously like any kind of marketing for it, reservations, all of that, all the fun details behind the scenes. But this is like with my mom's collection, it's not the first time that this has been out in the public. Robert Rodriguez had his art collection with a bunch of Frazettas. I think he owns like 12 now. My Uncle Bill's collection and my Aunt Heidi's collection and my mom's collection all at one time. And he had it exhibited at like San Diego at Comic-Con in 2011, I believe. Then he had it in Chicago at Wizard World. And then he had it twice in Austin, Texas. So they've always, the 3 siblings always wanted the art to be out there. it's just like figuring it out, because it's such a liability with insurance, and you know, God forbid, whether you have insurance or not, God forbid something happens to one of the paintings. And I don't know if you read the other day, Mark Wheatley, I think he posted a little story when he was 15 years old. He said that he was taking out my grandfather's snow giants from my grandfather's portfolio, and he placed it against the wall, and the ice caps fell off the canvas, and my grandpa licked it and put it back onto the canvas and said, "Don't worry, I use cheap materials, it happens." So with that being said, it's even more of like a risk because he did use very cheap materials. So it's like, you know, climate control, you have to think about all these things. So we're like I said, we're excited about that. We've been telling fans like possibly we'll get it on the road, but it's going to just take the right person to partner with us and make that happen. But it's something we want to do. So, you know, people like you, Ryan, out in California can see the work and not have to travel all the way down to Southwest Florida.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be awesome, but I always look for an excuse to get out of town. You know, like I love getting out of town.
Yeah, we're in a nice part. Like, people like to make fun of Florida, but we're in a very quaint little area that's classy.
And
We're not tackling alligators over here.
and then in terms of like, you know, things you want to do with the museum besides just showcasing art, do you have any ideas or plans of like doing events over there?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So we're actually thinking about for next year having some sort of event where we have other artists give their tributes, like any of like their, not give, but display their tributes and possibly sell their tributes. So it would be like this Frank Frazetta tribute collection. You know, have like people like maybe like Simon Bisley, like Nat Jones, you know, really, I mean, Simone Bianchi, like people that we're having create Death Dealer, like the new versions of Death Dealer, have that in the museum. I mean, I'm really any Frazetta tribute, but it would be, there's so much opportunities, and I think it would be really cool to have other artists come and can join us.
Yeah, I definitely would love to see their interpretations. I mean, those are all big name artists. So let's talk, you talked about the comic book Frank show happening to be there the day that you announced it. I've been waiting for you to announce some sort of something with comic books. Can you, you know, talk a little bit about how the idea for wanting to do it comes about, and then in turn how it actually came to be a reality with it's Incendium's Opus Comics, I believe, right?
Yep. So Lexi Leon really just believed in, I mean, he's been a Frazetta fan forever. But when he approached us, it was just more of like our visions really aligning. It wasn't like recycling the old stories or, you know, reprinting, which, you know, some people really love the versions. Like there's been multiple comic books of Death Dealer, there's been novels of Death Dealer, but we really wanted, because Frazetta Girls is a new brand. This is me coming into the Frazetta world in 2013. It's like Frazetta Girls wants to have its own interpretation of Death Dealer. So when Lexi came to us, we just were like, okay, he's the person. He's got the vision. He's actually going to do it, which is a huge obstacle in making anything. You can have someone who's super excited and, you know, they bring this elaborate plan, but then they don't actually execute. So from what we saw with like Lexi, he works with Disturbed, Evanescence, like to make comics, and he's worked with heavy metal, and his portfolio is really impressive. And then he actually had Mitch Iverson, who wrote it, and Mitch Iverson wrote some episodes for Dota, Dragon's Blood on Netflix, and Voltron, and we really liked his style too. It was just, you know, these guys are in their 30s, they just have more of like a fresh approach to everything, and that's something that we've been wanting with Frazetta this whole time, is to just keep reintroducing to new audiences, new generations. It's like, why does Disney remake a movie every 10 years? It's to go to the new generation and appeal to that. So that's just something we've had in mind. And, you know, the process has really been with us going back and forth, just kind of explaining like how we want the story to be, but also giving Mitch the complete, you know, the reins. He's the professional writer, but they've been really, really awesome with like involving us with, you know, what don't we want, and like how do you see it? And my grandpa always wanted something very similar to like a Lord of the Rings, the Glenn Danzig approach wasn't really for him.
Mhm.
So we're trying to like give a little bit for everyone, and I love the story. I think it's really great. My mom actually I was telling her about it, and she's like, because she used to read Batman comics. My mom's like a big comic girl, and she she was like, I actually want to get into comics again now because of reading this. So that was really good feedback. And my mom's like my harshest critic, so that was exciting to hear.
And then, so in terms of the creatives that are coming onto the book, besides Mitch, are you like handpicking them? Are you reaching out? Or people reaching out to you now that they know that the book is, or the book was a reality? I'm sure it's already printed or it's about to be printed.
Yeah.
But how does that go?
Yeah, the cover artists have been pretty much handpicked by the team. It was definitely a collaborative effort, and I had a couple, like one in mind, Bill Sienkiewicz, and then an artist named Greg Staples. Like there was just artists that I really like connected with over the years and have formed friendships, and it's just so I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for other artists, and like I'm always open to people coming and showing their portfolio, and like that's great. Like I wish I could get everyone, but it's not it's not the reality. But yeah, the first one is the first cover is Simone Bianchi, and I actually didn't even know we were going to use that one as a cover, the first cover. And then Lexi told me, and because I had seen it being painted online, and I had posted it, and he goes, this is going to be #1, by the way. And I was like, oh, that's incredible. It's so different. Like the horse is like this teeth, and it's a really interesting choice. And that's what I want to go with. I want to go with interesting choices. And again, like Lexi and our vision, it really aligns. So we're excited.
And is it like ongoing, a mini series? Like, what are the overall plans for the Death Dealer book?
Yeah, so it's Death Dealer's like he's coming in as the protagonist, but there's going to be like an evolution of like a Frazettaverse. So we're, with the courtesy of other intellectual property owners, this Frazettaverse will be mainly Frazetta's characters and new concepts based on the artwork. Being that my grandfather was an illustrator, a lot of IPs kind of, you like, for instance, like someone said the other day, they asked, oh, is Conan going to be in it? It's like, well, no, because that Conan is Conan. It's a Conan International Properties Conan. So, he was the illustrator. We work with properties on aligning because that's what we want with fans. But this is going to be new. This is going to be a lot of like characters that you'd see that were back on like the creepy and eerie that were my grandfather's characters. So there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of expansion with what we do now.
Very excited. Are you going to be illustrating anything?
Not yet. No, I mean, they haven't even brought that up to me, and I'm like glad, because I just want, right now we have to get like A-list talent, not I'm D-list talent. So I don't know if we'll if people wanted to give me like blanks to do or something in the future, that's something I would do, but I need to really freshen up on my skills before I go there.
And so like you talk about expanding the line, pulling from different Frazetta creations of the past. How big do you see this line of books getting potentially? Like what are your goals with this line of books?
I'd like for it to keep going for years, and hopefully that if it's successful, like fingers crossed that people like it, I hope it expands then into like animated series, and we just keep propelling the property. This is something that my grandparents wanted to happen. Like even with the Silky novels, they were told like, oh, we have connections, this is going to happen, and then nothing happened. And so we're really open to being flexible to get it on screen and making fans happy, and just like this resurgence of Frazetta. So really I have a long-term vision. I see it going on for the next 20 years, maybe longer, as long as I'm alive.
I love it.
Myself 20 years.
And like I've gone back and I've read some little collections. I think there was a book called The Sensuous Frazetta, a book that I recently got reprinted. So a lot of romance comics. Are you going to be only taking from like specific artwork, like paintings, or are you going to be maybe reinvigorating some of those old concepts that he illustrated back in the day?
We'll probably stay away from like the old comics again. Like that was, it's probably most likely it's all public domain now. But like, you know, in terms of like a Johnny Comet or something, that would be a completely separate thing. This is all just going to be based on, it could be based on like some ink drawings, and you know, he did a lot of like conceptual things with ink and watercolors. So not necessarily just oils, but yeah, mainly his work from the 60s until the 80s. That would be the catalog.
Okay. And then in terms of distribution, I know you said it is going to be through Diamond. Are there any other avenues that you're exploring to get the book out there?
So February 18th, it'll be available to order on incendium.online, and they're going to have it exclusive covers. So there's definitely an incentive to pre-order it online directly from Incendium. In the future, I'm sure Frazetta Girls will also carry the comics. Not at this time, but it's mainly going to be just through the comic shops. Like we want to go like real traditional and get it in every comic shop around the world.
And any plans, and I know that everything's up in the air right now, but any plans to hit in the con circuit and kind of get out there to promote the book?
For sure. I think once, because they start shipping May 1st. So once they're in circulation and they're received well, we'll definitely be going back to Comic Cons with comics. And I think that will be the most appropriate thing to do, you know, hence the name. So that we'll definitely be like at San Diego again, hopefully New York Comic Con. We'll go to the big ones. And someone just mentioned it today. They're like, will you be at Motor City? And I'd love to go back to Motor City, because honestly, that was like the best convention turnout we've ever had. I think that was 2015 we went there, and the fans were like ecstatic. Like they were lining up. They just had so many stories about Frazetta, and I've never seen such a passion. I'm like, wow, Detroit, that's it. You got to get to Detroit. So things like that, where I remember like different places that were just, like I said, like big fan bases. That's where we'll get, hopefully in Canada. Hopefully, you know, we're thinking of when things open back up, getting down to Brazil, because Brazil is just massive Frazetta audience.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can get out to San Diego when you guys come. I'd really love to do that. Is there anything, like you said before we recorded, that there's a lot of stuff you still can't necessarily talk about? Is there anything that you can tease to us?
I think I might have already teased this. Well, I can repeat myself, right?
Yeah.
But with the book, we have a big book coming in the summer, and I've said it before, so I'll say it right now, but it's Taschen. We're publishing through Taschen.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yep, and that's finally like on the last couple little things that I have to work through, you know, the owner, and we're getting there. So I've been told summer, so that's really exciting. I can't say it, but we have such big collaborations coming up, and then I'd have to honestly have my like lawyer here and say this yet. so I can't, Ryan, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
We have a little thing coming up with Vampirella. That's what I'll give you.
Okay.
Little thing coming with Apparel.
All right, cool. Excited. Well, I'm very excited for all the comic books. I'm very stoked. I cannot wait to make it out there for the museum. I wanted to ask your opinion. I know you guys have kind of dabbled in it. The NFT space.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much conflicting opinions about NFTs. I can't really have one since I don't really fully understand it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know everything that goes into it. I kind of have a vague understanding. I mean, I've even contemplated, you know, my wife doing it as well. I just have no clue how to start. But I love your opinion on getting into that space and kind of expanding into something so new in the art space.
Well, and I said this the other day on live when I was with Heavy Metal. It's like when we were first approached by Artify, this was like late 2019, early 2020, like before anyone knew about we were like, what are you guys saying? Like, and when they started talking about the blockchain and this and that. But my gut feeling was very similar to when I told people social media wasn't going away, and I was like very sure of it. I'm like, it's not going to go away. It will change, but it's not going to go away. So I felt very similar with NFTs. Like, this is just the future. I mean, with whatever, like maybe just crypto in general, blockchain in general, like this is going to be how people do contracts in the future. This is going to be a very standard way of living because it will just be easier. But my initial thing was like, okay, this could be, it wasn't, we again, we didn't know like the money that could be like given from it. We were just like, oh, this is cool. Like there's a lot of potential with money, and that's great. Like if I, like, for instance, like if a digital artist can't make money selling their digital art, what better way than an NFT? Like that's incredible. Finally, like Beeple, like he's made a ton of money. That's great. But obviously Frazetta wasn't a digital artist. So we want to also be respectful of like the climate and everything, and not look like it's just, we don't want to do it just like as a money grab. Like we don't do anything like that with our company because we have integrity. So when they told us this would be like a virtual museum, like that was like the idea of it. Like these fans could buy this like animated cool Frazetta and kind of like go into the animation and experience the painting, and then have their own like digital gallery where they hang this on the wall and can display it and have their virtual friends come, and they're at like a Frazetta art museum. And I was like, well, that's cool, because let's be real, how many people are going to actually get to come to the United States, go to one of the two museums or wherever it's exhibited? It's not that feasible. So I always think about like the global audience. So that to me was like really, really cool. But like my recommendation with NFTs is just like have integrity about it. Like, you know, have a vision, a long-term vision. And it's not going to be just people want value to anything, like you know, they want the value to go up, or at least like hold the value if they're investing this much money. So I like recommend looking into like PFP projects, different like the profiles, like the Bored Apes. You know, you see all these things popping up. Well, they're successful because they have all of these like incentives behind it. You know, they have these events that you can go to. It's exclusive. So that's something that we're also working on building, where it's like a real community, a Frazetta community. And that, again, that will determine the long-term success of any project. It just has to, you have to give value to people. I mean, it's, people know we're human beings, so you can sniff it out, like, oh, is this, what are they doing here? So that's like, that's my advice. Just go in it with integrity and try to make it really cool for people that are investing their money.
I don't know. I like, for me, I think that what's hard to wrap my mind around, like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not against, it's not like I'm against or for it. It's like, I'm learning a little bit just by speaking. But like for me, I always like to have something physical. It's like why I don't buy digital comics, why I won't buy a digital movie or music digitally. Like I want to have it, and maybe that's just old school thinking, but like I want to have it in my hands. You know, like I don't want to feel like if my computer crashes or for whatever reason or something happens, it's like, well, that's gone. You know, like that's my mentality. So I think that, but you made a good point. Like digital artists, they can't really sell their art otherwise. So it's an interesting way of putting it, for sure.
And like, and you know, because we're like the same age, it's like these not, I mean, there's plenty of people our age and older, like these gamers, you know, this is their life. Like they're always in the metaverse, so to speak, the Oculus. They're always in that digital world. And for them, like, I mean, go back to like a Blizzard game, they have this, what is their game? I can't think of their game right now, but anyway, their games, probably all of them. I'm not like a versed gamer, so I sound like an idiot, and I apologize, but you can buy skins on things, you know, you can buy the weaponry and you can buy the lands, and that's just an extension of what's already been. So people, it became kind of like politicized, like everything now. And it's not, again, there's like with ours, we really, I'm really big into the environment. So I'm like, okay, I have to make sure this isn't like really killing the environment like some people are saying. So we went with them, and they were doing like more of like an ethical green way of using this energy, because there are a lot of platforms that don't really have that going yet. But I think that's like starting because of like the outroar, like, or the uproar rather, of people saying, hey, like you're mining, like what are you doing with the energy consumption? A lot of companies are kind of going back and saying, well, okay, well, how do we get around this and make everyone happy and bring everyone in? So I think there's just like, it has a long way to go. We're just at the beginning of this, and I think it will start becoming more mainstream maybe in like the next like 5 years.
Yeah, I think, it's funny, like I when you mentioned the social media thing, like I mean, obviously I was there for the beginning. But I didn't like ever think about like, oh, this is going to be around for a while. I didn't like have that thought. But now you look at us as a society and who's not on social media. I mean, Facebook was started for like with kids in college, and now it's like grandparents. It's people underage are making fake, like lying about how old they are just so they can have a Facebook profile. So it will be interesting to see it, like 5 years from now, like you said, like where is this NFT space? And I do think it's definitely a good thing for artists. I definitely like the aspect of when you create a piece of art, somebody flips it for more money, you get a little bit of that action. Now, I also know that like there's people say, well, I'm fine, I sold it, and I'm cool with not, if they sell it, like whatever, that's their prerogative. But I do think it's a very interesting thing and beneficial thing for somebody that's creating art that doesn't necessarily make an insane amount of money normally. Like my wife, all her paintings that are surrounding me in this room, she sells it, right? I think she undersells, but if she makes an NFT, like she, maybe she makes a little bit more than
Well,
she normally would.
getting her royalties from that too,
Right, right.
anytime it sells. And that's the great thing, because like you said, if you're selling something physical, unless you have a really great contract that I haven't heard of, but you're getting a royalty every time that physical art sells. I mean, because the original art market has been so like exploited over the years, and this is what art dealers have done, and everything has been just like hyped and like kind of like the stock market, it's like, so this is in the beginning. I mean, it could get ruined in the future, but now as it is, it's like it's a really good opportunity. It's a fair opportunity for artists to make royalties and keep making money. That's build a community. So do it
Yeah.
yourself. You don't have to have a bunch of people. You can do it yourself. And that's the age we're in now, is we don't need to cut the pie 1,000 times. You can cut it a few times and keep your money. So yeah.
Well, I just think it's so awesome, all the different things you do to help keep your grandfather's name, like in the public eye. The comic book, the museum, again, the NFT market, and then of course Frazetta Girls. I wanted to, before we get out of here, just touch a little bit on that. Anything exciting going on in that space that you've got coming up? I know you keep expanding more and more with the types of products you guys are putting out.
Yeah, I mean, we're just we Joe, who I've mentioned many times, my Frazetta girl, he's like the mastermind behind everything. He goes slow and steady, and that's just because he's a perfectionist, and it's like, anything we do is never good enough. So we go through a lot of like just sampling process, and it takes a long time, but we really are happy with the skateboard decks as like a decorative thing on the wall, like the triptych sets. Like I love them. The Ghoul Queen, I crack up, which is because the one skateboard on the far left side with the, I don't have to get into it. You probably know what I'm talking about. It's very funny. And then like the Castle of Sin one did great. And we really just want to make items for collectors. Like that's like in our mind always, like how can we make stuff that's like really like exclusive, and you're never going to get it again, because that's like exciting. You see it like reselling on eBay, and you're like, wow, like people want it. That's so cool. But we're going to really be like heavy into the apparel this year. We're going to start expanding on Frazetta Girls apparel. So women will finally get a chance to buy some like really cool merchandise, because we've been, 70% of our audience has been male since the beginning, but we just keeps ticking a little bit over and over, and we're getting more and more women. So we want to bring them some cool stuff. And trying to think what else. I don't know if I have any like big surprises. I mentioned Vampirella earlier. She's part of that. what I'm talking about, merchandising. So yeah, we're just, you know, we're just going to keep doing what we do, but expand it a little bit, scale it a bit.
All right, cool. Well, like I said, one of the busiest women I know. You're constantly doing something, constantly posting what you're doing. And I'm loving everything you're doing. So yeah, of course. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you got in the works that we have not mentioned that you're working on?
I think you got everything out of me. I
All
mean, I
right,
don't
all right,
like
fair
sitting here
enough.
going, oh, should I have said that one last thing? But whatever. It's, who cares?
All right, cool. Well, you know, as I said before we even start recording, it is always a pleasure talking to you, and I'm just so grateful to you for taking time to talk with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I always love talking to you and seeing your wife's beautiful artwork in the back. It's beautiful. Tell her I said so, please.
I will. I'll let her know, and I will
Okay.
tell her that you said that. And of course, next time you have an announcement, if you're down for it, I would love to chat with you again.
I would love to be back. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Of course. And everybody listening, watching, I'll have all the links down below for Frazetta Girls, where you can get the comic book when it comes out. And make sure you follow Sara as well as Comic Lounge so you can stay up to date on all the stuff she's got going on. And yeah, again, thank you.
Sounds good.